At 12:58 on the morning of June 15th, an ambulance was dispatched to the home of John Maulden. His daughter Katie was unconscious and unresponsive. When paramedics arrived 8 minutes later, she had a fever of 108. By 8 a.m., her fever was still 107. At 8:43 that night, she was gone. What exactly happened to Katie leading up to her death, and why has there been no real investigation?
Katie is 20. She had just recently turned 21 in November. She died in June. She was a very unique kind of person. She was funny, a bitch. She come by honestly. She would help anybody that she possibly could. Didn't matter, even if you'd done her wrong, she would still turn around and help you. When it came to kids, she was all about them. She took in people's kids while the parents tried to get sober. That was just what she did. She took in anybody, pretty much, animal or human. She was a lot of things.
Katie was one of these that would help anybody and everybody. It didn't matter to her who it was, what time, day or night. Yeah, she was my brat. She was my right. Matter of fact, she was my right arm because she'd help me around here and took care of me. And it just, you couldn't ask for a better kid. Yeah, me and her argued a lot and stuff because she took that part after me. We butted heads because we both just alike. And,
we butted heads because they were just alike.
But she was just all around pretty good kid. Yeah,
she wasn't perfect.
No, she wasn't perfect. She had her good points and her bad points. But as far as helping somebody, she was always there for them. It didn't matter to her who. And like her mom said, she took in anybody and everybody until they get back on their feet.
Katie didn't always, we are her mother and father, but Katie didn't always have an easy life. When we got divorced, Katie went through hell.
Yeah.
She was 10. And which, did lead to some of the stupid choices that she made in life. But Katie, at the same time, was getting things turned around. She had made a plan. She was getting out of doing what she was doing. She wasn't trying to continue the lifestyle that she had gotten herself into, and she was trying to get away from the people that she was around. She was getting out of selling weed. I'm like, oh, great place, because
she sold weed, and she also sold these little cart things you go as in the vape cigarettes. She sold those. That's how she made her extra money. It was like, but I look at it this way: weed has been on this earth ever since God put it here. Now, as far as the vape things, they sell them at any convenience store in town. So I seen nothing wrong with what she was doing. Well, the day she died, I'd been making plans of going up north to Michigan to my sisters and stuff and spending 2 weeks. She was going to stay here in the office and take care of my house in the office while I was gone. I do know that day she got in a pound of weed and some of them cards. I left here about 1:30 that day, and I talked to her that afternoon a couple different times. She was okay. And then I turned around and talked to her about 9, a little after 9 that night, and she She said she was doing fine, that she was tired, which she'd been up all day that day and the night before. She was a night owl, so she said that she was going to come in and get her some sleep. And about a little after 1 that morning, my phone rang, and it was supposedly her boyfriend called me and said, "I'm sorry, Uncle John. I love you. I'll have to take Katie to the hospital." And then he just hung up. I called my daughter the other daughter about 7? I called her and she went and got a hold of Katie's mom and told her she needed to go to the hospital, that Katie was at the hospital. And me and her hadn't talked in over 5 years.
No.
And not talked to each other, been around each other, nothing.
But when his daughter came up to the door and knocked and told me that that they were moving Katie to the ICU, I called the hospital. She told me that she was there, and she asked me how far out I was. That moment I knew it was not okay. I told her I'm like about 20 minutes from town. We made it there in 10. But she told me, she's like, "Well, you need to get here soon." And we went up there. And we got there. Still had no idea what was going on. I didn't know the reason that she was there. I didn't know anything. I only knew that she was at the hospital and that they were getting ready to transfer her to the ICU. My husband and I was sitting out in the lobby and we were waiting. Which, I mean, it really felt like forever. They finally came and got us. When I got in there, her fever was still 107.6. She was wrapped from head to toe in cooling blankets. When EMTs got here, according to the EMT report, when they got here, her fever was 108, and that was at 1:06, I believe it was, in the morning. They had her hooked up to a ventilator, the whole nine. All because 4 grown people made the choice not to call 911 for 2.5 hours. They said that they knew, Josh said that he knew that she needed help at 9:20, I believe. I don't know. I have it all in messages. He said that he knew that she needed help by messages that was being sent to him and Stash. If you know that somebody needs help, my 7-year-old daughter can tell you to call 911. They were here at 9:30, or supposedly left around 9:30, and they came back around 10:30. Right? Jess, who had been staying in the basement room down here with her kids, supposedly she had left as Josh and Sebastian came in and told Josh and Sebastian that Katie was asleep. Supposedly she says that she shut the door and they say it was standing wide open. They walked in. She was supposed to have been in that first bedroom. When they told us that they moved her from the first bedroom there into here and put her on the couch, trying to cool her down. 108 fever doesn't happen in an instant. Anybody knows that a fever is a dangerous thing. Anybody knows that a drug overdose is a dangerous thing. They knew that an overdose can kill. But they want me to believe that my daughter done something to herself between the 9:30, 9:40 when they left and the 10:30 when they came back. My daughter didn't. From the time she was born, Katie never did anything by herself. Nothing. Ever. She wouldn't even sit in a room and play by herself. She always had the need for people. She had to be around people. She didn't do stuff by herself. And I'm not a parent who sits here and goes, oh, well, my child would never. Oh, no. I am by far not that parent. But my daughter did not die because of a choice that she made. Yes, she smoked weed. She didn't do this. She could have been saved. EMTs were 6 minutes from here. They all want to say that it wasn't 2.5 hours that they waited, but this is their words. This is not us placing something together. This is what they say. This is what they have told me in messages. Jess, who lived with Katie at one point, well, multiple times, we had Christmas together, you know. She was at my house numerous times with her kids. You know, we treated them like part of the family on both sides. I mean, neither one of us did any different than any of the other kids that we have. Her response to me when I was trying to find information out was that I was bugging her. Yeah. She told me that she didn't know anything and that she wasn't here. Cops told us that she was here. Josh, Sebastian, and Clayton all told us that she was here.
Katie, after she passed away, the next morning we come here, me and my oldest daughter, to pick up the insurance papers and stuff like that to take to the funeral home. 2 deputies come here and asked if they could search my house, and I told them, yeah. They did find a little tray in the first bedroom that had a little bit of weed on it, you know, which that was something. But also when they was in there, we think Katie was drugged because Katie didn't go a half a day without a Starbucks coffee. You know, that was her favorite drink. And when we got here, there was a cup in there on a nightstand in that first bedroom where she's supposed to have been out. It was a Starbucks cup with just a little bit of liquid in the bottom. And I explained that to the officers and everything, and then me and my oldest daughter went to the funeral home and met with everybody else. When we come back, and the Starbucks cup was gone, and you know, we could assume that, you know, your sheriff's department took it. They said no, they didn't take it. But from the time we left until the time we got back, that Starbucks cup disappeared. And we're thinking really seriously that that's how they give her whatever it was. And it ended up she had meth, ecstasy, and Xanax and marijuana in her system. And meth is something she never did mess with. You know, she knew what the results would be on that. And Josh, he is a big time drug dealer here in town. He sells ecstasy, he sells Xanax, and ain't no telling what else he sells. And one of the other, my nephew, which was Clayton, he said that Josh had the other boy, Sebastian, to take 2 bags out of here, 2 different fuel bags out of here and take them back to his house. We told the sheriff's department that. They've never went over and searched his house. If you are somebody here in this town, you get stuff done. If you are nobody, they're not even going to talk to you about it. Then when we got back here, me and Kim decided Katie never kept her stuff in the house. She had a storage shed. She kept everything in it. So me and Kim went out to check everything, and we went out to the storage shed, and the lock was cut off of it. And all of her stuff was gone. So exactly what they done, they robbed her, you know. She had some cash on her. The cash was gone. The storage shed had a regular padlock on it. I take care of storage units, so we have to have bolt cutters to cut the lock on them. They are hung on a wall in my garage. When I found the bolt cutters, they was not hanging on the wall. They was sitting in the corner where they'd just been stuck down. Jess, the girl that was here, her and her boyfriend started selling weed right after that happened. So we got a good idea that they're the ones that got it. But, you know, it's just, we can't prove it. But, you know, but I think it went just a little bit further than what they expected. She had an ex-boyfriend that knew that she loved the Starbucks coffee. And I got a feeling he was involved in the whole ordeal because he knew that I was gone. And I think that was their main intention, was to rob her. But Boulder County don't want to look at it that way. They said she was a druggie and she dealt drugs, so, you know, she's just another one gone, more or less, is what they told us.
Why?
To me, they knew what they was doing. I think deep down inside, this is what I think. I think they was trying to put her to sleep to rob her, because I run a business out of here too, and there was cash here. They knew that, and I think it backfired on them. It went too far, and it wasn't too long before that. There was a girl that she dealt with. The same thing happened to her and another guy. They shot and killed him, and she was shot in the leg and the stomach, and they robbed them. You know, but this girl, her family's big shots here in town. The cops was on it and picked them up, you know, everything. But we're not big shots, so, you know, there's nothing going to be done.
They told us that they can't, there's nothing that they can do. Their sole focus is the fact that she sold drugs. That's it. You're not going to tell me that if the circumstances was just a little bit different in Katie's case, you know, it was an officer that lived here, and it was his daughter that was laying here when they walked in. You're not going to tell me that the sole focus of that case was going to be the fact that she sold weed. Their sole focus would have been the fact that they let her suffer for 2.5 hours before calling 911.
Prosecuting attorney told me it was my fault that she died because I did not turn her in. You know, they said she'd still be alive if I'd have turned her in.
People need to quit being so very judgmental when it comes to people who are on drugs. They get there not because they don't wake up one day and choose to just smoke weed or to pop pills or whatever it is that they do. A lot of them do it to fight back the pain and the trauma of things that have happened. If people would start listening more, and people would start treating them like they're humans. And I know that there are a lot of them that get into really heavy shit, that get into doing really bad things. But our daughter, like a lot of others, has simply hit a place in life that she turned to smoking weed to dull some of the things that she'd never had the ability to work through yet. You know, and there's a lot of them that turn to stuff like that because they need help in other places in life.
No, I look at it this way. I think the law enforcement, I back the blue. I used to, I flew their flag out here in my front yard for years until this happened, and I took it down because I feel that they're not watching my back like they should be. You know, I think the sheriff's department, police department, you know, state highway patrol, everything, they ought to look at everything equal. You know, if I don't care if you're rich, you know, mediocre or poor, everybody should be treated the same. You know, don't take and overlook the poor man because he don't have no money. You know, he's the same person. You cut a poor man, you cut a rich man. Both of them's gonna bleed the same color blood. I don't care what color you are, what nationality you are, they're all the same. We're all here. You know, and I don't think anybody would be treated different. You know, and anymore, that's what's going on, and not only here, but all over across the United States. People are being treated different, you know, and it's not right, you know.